Hello friends, welcome back to Three Barrow Farm. It is a glorious morning this morning, a little bit chilly, but that's kind of nice for what I want to do today. We are expecting another heat wave to come, so there is lots to do to prepare for that. But the first thing I want to do in the morning is harvest everything that needs to be harvested. So right here, I'm harvesting my chamomile, and it is growing so beautifully as it normally does, despite the heat we've had. Today's going to be a top of 20, so I'm getting my kids out here today to assist me with some gardening, which will be much appreciated. There is quite a bit to do. I've got the tomatoes and the zucchinis and the pumpkins to tie up onto their Rio or onto a stake. So I've got to put some stakes in the ground as well. There's quite a breeze. It is a southeasterly breeze, and it's quite welcoming really for the hard work that we're going to be doing out here in the garden. I really need to purchase one of those harvesting tools for harvesting the chamomile. However, it is a nice, slow, gentle activity to do first thing in the morning, just to, stretch your muscles and ease into the gardening day. I've already had a little fossick around the garden, and there's mint to harvest, of course. The mint is forever growing, and I would like to dehydrate some more so I can make some more mint powder, because I used it in a raw slice and the kids really, really liked the freshness of the mint flavour in that. So I'm keen to have that on my shelf throughout the winter so that I can add it to certain things and have that minty flavour in those recipes. I've noticed that there are a few more green tomatoes growing, which is really exciting. I'm anticipating the first fruit to be ready to pick, but I think I'm going to be waiting a while. However, I still have to check on more of the plants and see how they're going, although I scan my garden and I can't see any red colour that's jumping out at me. I think I may leave the rest of this job for one of my kids to do. It'll be a slow, gentle job for them. They're still having some lovely sleep-ins these school holidays, but they need to eventually acclimatise back to getting up a bit earlier than they're getting up right now. I'm going to put this little bundle in the dehydrator, but first I'm going to grab my pruners and let's get some mint. Here I am at the mint patch, and one thing I have noticed is some birds have been kicking about the mulch, I think, a little bit in a section down there where I had beetroot and carrot seeds, or seedlings rather, and they've basically destroyed a lot of the beetroot seeds, which is annoying, and a reminder that I do need to put the netting over when I'm putting seeds out. At the moment, with how the summer has gone, I am just taking what comes as a joy, and I'm not expecting a huge amount from my garden, but yeah, as I said before, I may be pleasantly surprised, but I doubt I'll have the amount of carrots that I had last year, and also beetroot as well. However, I do have some beetroot that's ready to harvest. I'm wondering how all of your gardens are and how you're faring with the heat waves that we've been having. I know some of you have mentioned that you're just, leaving your garden as it is, and what will be sort of thing, and not getting out there as much because of the heat. And I get that. Like, I rarely get out for long periods of time in the summertime because I don't like being out in that radiant heat. I do, however, love the mornings and the evenings in the garden, or the late evenings. They are a time where I really enjoy being out here because it's cooler and the sun is less harsh because it's not right up there above you. So I do get times in the garden. However, I haven't been in the garden yet this week because I've been, family life has been busy and I've been away from the property. So it is really nice to get out here all day today. I think this is a good amount of mint for the dehydrators. I'm just looking at those beautiful sunflowers over there. They are looking gorgeous, but too big to pick for the vase. Some of them are smaller though. Maybe I do a little bouquet as well before I get into today's work in the garden. I actually have some kale to harvest here. Most of this kale is being eaten by something. It's got holes and there's lots of old leaves in here. But if I go up to the tops of the plants, there are some beautiful, lovely leaves up here. There we go. I can't quite bring myself to pulling these plants out of my garden yet because I'm still harvesting a bunch of kale every now and then. But yeah, it's getting to that point. I'll have to make that decision and take them out. Right next to the kale plants in front of them are some gorgeous basil plants, and they are doing so well. I've been harvesting from them quite often, and I'm hoping maybe today I have enough to do some dehydrating with and fill a whole tray with just basil. I have already harvested lots of basil and put it in the freezer, but I'd love to have some dried basil as well this year. It was my plan to grow a really nice crop of basil, and I think I am succeeding. Here is the bundle of basil from this section. I'm hoping there is even more over near the tomatoes in my other garden bed. Well, I've harvested some sweet peas to take inside. I've harvested some dahlias as well. There is a huge amount of basil in this basket, along with the kale and the mint. I've got plenty here to take inside to cheer up the house and to also put in the dehydrator. Man, that is massive. That is huge. They are so big this year. I can't get over it. We are currently digging up some of the potatoes, and we are finding some massive ones. Huge. Wants to pee in. No, they're not. It's not for you to bite. I'm trying to show the people. Stop it, silly Billy. Stop it. It's not a ball. It's not a ball or a toy. All right, so we go higher. So this one is like the size of my hand, like massive, huge. Another big one. Can't get over it. I just wasn't sure what the harvest would be like this year. I wasn't expecting this. There are, of course, tiny little ones as well, which there always are when you're pulling the plants out. We'll get the fork later and we'll just give it a bit of a dig just to see if there's any more. huge amount from one plant. So friends, it's 2 days later and we actually harvested, wait for it, a large flock of corallas just went over my head. So we actually harvested over 19 kilos, actually close to 20 kilos from that small patch of potatoes. So I was really blown away with the quality and size of the potatoes. And we cooked some up that night. They tasted so delicious. I'm really, really happy with the outcome of those potatoes. I still have another 4 times that space to harvest over there in that patch, and then maybe 2.5 that size in this section here. So I'm expecting a real bumper crop of potatoes. I have most of those potatoes sitting in our mud room, so they're drying out and being prepared for storing. We are at the start of another heat wave. It's hopefully not going to be as bad as the last heat wave. So I'm out here doing a little bit of weeding before it gets too hot to be outside. And my plan for today is probably to do some processing of some beetroots that I harvested yesterday and do a bit of cooking and prepping before the weather gets really hot. I processed some peaches and apples the other day, so I've bottled them up in some jars, and I did them with a very light syrup this time, so we shall see how they turn out. The peaches weren't very flavoursome, so I decided to bottle them up, and we've got more peaches coming in our garden, so hopefully if the birds don't get them, because the birds have been really annoying. You know, the cockatoos, they just come for the seeds in the apples. They don't actually eat the apples. They just chew them all up, eat the seeds, and then go on their merry way. And that's highly annoying. If they ate the apples themselves, then I wouldn't mind it so much, but it's so wasteful in my mind. And yes, I know we could be netting our fruit trees. We are not ready for that yet. We do not have the infrastructure set up in place to do so. And ideally, we would have had that done by now. It is quite disappointing to see so many apples go to waste. But in the end, we're only 2 people and we can only do so much while we're trying to manage all of this space. So hopefully, once we get this area sorted, with the proper foundations that we want to change. So the foundations that we've laid here, you know, we've worked out that it doesn't work so well. So we will be changing up the irrigation lines, and we've already started to take action to prepare for the big changes that are going to eventually occur in this area. We've been slowed down by the heat of this summer, really, and there's only so much you can do when there's fire risk and that as well. Also, we've had less time off over the summer break, so it will eventually happen. I really look forward to everything progressing a bit faster than it is. But yeah, once we have those foundations laid, we can finally put the infrastructure over these apple trees and put some netting over them. We also want to do things well, and we want to purchase really good quality netting, and we also need a storage space to put the netting when we're not using it. So there's all these things that we need to take into account before we just start diving into putting the netting on and then realizing we don't have the proper hoops around the apple rows, we don't have the proper storage for the netting to keep the netting going for many, many years to come. The garden is becoming quite wild here. I don't actually have a path anymore, but I'm noticing that there's these weeds coming up among this long patch of tomatoes that I've let grow in the pathway. I was going to transplant them, but then it got too late to do so. And now I've just resigned to the fact that I'm going to have some wild tomatoes growing in here. And I've already got some green tomatoes on these plants here. I think they're a cherry tomato because they've just come up all by themselves. And it's usually the cherries that are left behind in the garden. The larger ones don't tend to let their seeds go and spread because, of course, I harvest them to eat and cook up. And I've got the gorgeous smells of the sweet peas, which I can't get over how well they're doing this year. They're still blossoming and there are so many flowers on some of the plants. I can't get over it. It is quite amazing. And not to mention the gorgeous wall of sunflowers behind me. They are looking quite amazing. There still aren't many bees on them. Like they would be covered in bees like this time last year and the year before, every other year. So perhaps that last heat wave took out some of the bees in those hives that will be along the gums that we have across the way over there. Okay, it must be getting hot out here because my camera's not coping with the heat. So I found it a little shady spot to sit in while I finish this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've reached this far, send me a comment down below. Let me know how you're all going in this heat wave that we're having, another heat wave here in Victoria. I have these lovely bush beans behind me, which I need to stake a little bit because they were in amongst the potatoes here. So they've gotten a bit leggy and they're sort of falling over a bit. But I'm hoping to get something from these beans eventually. And I need to finish off this section here, sort of dig up and make sure there's no more potatoes left because my daughters just dug them with their hands. So I will get the fork and just dig in and make sure there's none left. And then I will amend the soil and something else will go in here, perhaps some beetroots and carrots. I could try and put in some more beans, some bush beans in this section. In January, you can still plant beans, so I might give them a go. I've got a few lettuces that have gone to seed, and I'm also keen to just let those seeds just fall in this section and see what comes from it. So I probably will net it because the birds have already dug up some of my beetroot and carrot seedlings over there. So I'll probably net it once I've sorted this out. But that is one of my plans for this weekend. Other than that, I'm just watering and I'm just harvesting and doing a little bit of pottering around in the garden, a little bit of weeding, but I'm not doing much during these hot days out here. I'm also just trying to keep the birds away from the garden. We were thinking of getting one of those hawks, those fake hawks that you get that go up about, I think, 9 meters, and putting one in the garden and seeing what happens. We were going to do that down at our dam too because we wanted that dam to be our water hole, but instead a family of 30 ducks have decided that that is their water hole, and why they couldn't just go to the other dam, I don't know. Why they had to choose the nice clean dam for their pond. Anyway, we are thinking of getting one of those hawks. So if you have gotten one of those fake hawk things, they are quite expensive. We might just start with one and give it a go, see if it works, and then perhaps get another one. It might work with the ducks, but the cockatoos, I think they're too smart. I think they figure it out eventually. I think you'd have to move it around often. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you've used one and whether it has worked. I am spying so many tomatoes on these tomato plants now. That is really, really exciting to see. And I've checked my fruit fly trap and there's nothing in there so far, so that is a good sign. It is so very peaceful out here. I can just hear a cricket chirping in the background. It is very peaceful. Well, I will see you again very soon, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead and that you stay safe during these hot days. Take care. See you next time.